Hello and welcome to the R.A.W podcast. My name is Adi, and this week Rushil won't be joining us because he is studying for his CAT exams. So, everybody in the comments, please write all the best, Rushil, because he has been working immensely hard for this. And let's see if this week I could be able to carry this on my own, which is going to be very difficult because it's a duo podcast, and he definitely always makes the correct predictions. I make the hopeful ones, and I'll try to bring his positive energy right now because I am a generational hater when it comes to a lot of the things this company does. Even though this is the only brand I watch, I don't know why, but yeah. So this week's episode is gonna be very pessimistic without Rochelle. But either way, keeping up with the pessimism. I don't know how to say it. This year's Survivor Series is gonna be absolutely mid, or actually it's gonna be terrible. Yeah, that's my genuine hot take for this week. Okay, so let's start with the men's bloodline match. Okay, it was perfect. 4v4 OG bloodline versus the new bloodline. Why do we need the fifth member? I genuinely do not understand this obsessive need of finding the fifth member, because that's how the wargames match have been presented. The thing is, in the recent years, it's always been 5v5, but in the past, it has been 4v4. So, I don't really understand the rules and the needs of having a 5v5 wargames when it doesn't make sense. Now, in ticket selling perspective, obviously you have two more opportunities to bring a name that is gonna make sense, or it's like gonna have a dream match scenario or something like that. Seth Rollins being a part of it kind of sounds a dream thing, because Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in the same team, which by the way does not make sense, but I'm gonna get there. But here's the thing, this is what Bloodline is suffering with the most. This is their biggest problem, is that their story is not gonna progress without Dwayne Johnson. And as much as I hate Dwayne Johnson, I have to admit the fact that he is now the important part of the story. The fact is, Cody Rhodes was an integral part of the Bloodline story, so much so that most of his title reign was surrounded by Bloodline. And now finally he's having a storyline which is organically Cody's, which technically also stemmed because of Bloodline. Now obviously that makes sense, but Cody, Randy and Kevin Owens is now a separate deal. They're not going to be involved in the Bloodline match, and the Bloodline is a completely different thing. The Civil War thing is a completely different thing. Now, by the time Survivor Series came, we were predicting Hiko Leo, we were predicting Zilla Fatu, we were predicting some more names. But the thing is, WWE has been playing the nostalgia game. And because of that, the biggest problem that comes along is the fact that the final boss is now the integral part of it. If they would have actually, introduced new characters like Zilla Fatu, maybe Hiko Leo, maybe this would have been to another direction where Solo's new bloodline would have had more character, more depth and more reasoning to try to be the new, dominant faction, or maybe the bloodline that dominated for 4 years in the WWE. But the thing is, even just by the way Sami Zayn was introduced back into it is just, I in my opinion, that was just really bad. That entire episode of SmackDown where Sami Zayn just instantly went, I miss it, yaar. I miss it. Like, this is like Sami Zayn was acting like a 17-year-old girl right after their breakup. It's like, I know you treated me like shit, but I miss it, yaar. Like, this, I don't understand Sami's character right now. And here's the thing, right? A lot of people are saying that Sami is gonna turn heel. Guys, the event is in Canada, his hometown. Okay, not even hometown, but at least it's his home country. There is no way Sami Zayn is gonna turn heel in his home country. Like, his home country is not gonna boo him, and even if he's gonna boo him, like, it's a terrible decision for Sami Zayn to turn heel in his home country. Like, it doesn't make sense. And that's why, like, Sami's always been the good guy, and he'll always be the good guy in my opinion. And that is what bugs me the most, is that, okay, so Sami's not gonna turn heel, so what's next? Who is the fifth member? And the thing is, for 4 years, Bloodline has made everybody their villain. Nobody would like to be part of the OG Bloodline. In fact, I guess even Jey Uso's good reputation is not going to be enough to save, because Roman Reigns has been a tyrant, as Seth Rollins has been proving all this time. And the fact that one of the number one contenders to be the fifth member is Seth Rollins just doesn't make any bloody sense. Okay? Because yeah, he was right. He has no business being partners with a tyrant like Roman Reigns. Again, yeah, he betrayed and all that kind of stuff. But from a storyline perspective, this week's Raw basically was giving a justification to Seth Rollins that last year you teamed with Cody Rhodes, you had a blood feud with him, you just have to, forget about the differences. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins had an ego feud, okay? They did not really have a storyline feud. They had an ego feud, well, who's the better person or this and that, and you left the company, मैं यहीं पे था, all that kind of stuff, right? But the problem is that the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns storyline goes way back to Shield days, and we're talking when we were prepubescent kids, alright? This is an old storyline. For Seth Rollins to join this team, which at this point it's gonna be the case, makes no bloody sense. Why would he team up with Roman Reigns? Why would he give any power to Roman Reigns? In fact, which makes me believe that the heels are gonna win. Now, to be fair, I don't hate the fact that the heels are gonna win. But again, this story will just not get interesting until and unless Dwayne Johnson is a part of the story again. This is why I call it the biggest problem, because Dwayne Johnson is not going to be a part of anything which is not WrestleMania related or something that makes him win or makes him the champion or makes everything about him, right? This bloodline storyline should be a thing on its own without Dwayne Johnson. And I want Solo Sikoa's new bloodline to be an actually dominating force. The fact that he was able to pin Roman Reigns in storyline perspective, the fact that he pinned Roman Reigns clean in a Saudi crowd, by the way, which I did not expect, okay, for the biggest babyface of this company, second biggest babyface, okay, to be pinned clean in front of the crowd which is essentially always cheering for Roman Reigns is insane. I loved the fact that they were able to take that step. But Roman Reigns' bloodline does not need a fifth member, it needs Paul Heyman, right? I think this is the direction that they're going to go, is that they're going to get Seth Rollins, they're going to lose, and then they're eventually going to try to get Paul Heyman back, and Paul Heyman is going to make them win matches. Okay, so here's my actual official prediction, is that Seth Rollins is going to be the fifth member regardless of what happens. Maybe they don't announce until the day of match and we just get to know who is the fifth member of the bloodline. And it could be Seth Rollins. It's not going to be Dwayne Johnson, because Dwayne Johnson doesn't really do war games. I don't think he's going to do war games. I think he's too busy trying to save reputation of the Red One at this point. It's not going to be CM Punk. It's not going to be any, character that has never been part of the bloodline, because this entire storyline is going to be nostalgia bait for a lot of people, and the good guys are going to lose, and that is going to be the motivating factor to get Paul Heyman back, which by the way is the most exciting part about this bloodline storyline, is that I want Paul Heyman to come back. I want him to recruit Selafatu or Hikuleo and maybe drive the story further than the fact then it's good versus bad, Solo versus Roman. The story about the Ula Fala being part of Roman's important character lore has just been lost at this point, and throughout the weeks it's just been nostalgia bait over nostalgia bait, and they're trying to recreate all these moments, which is good. But this essentially is speaking the fact that the story has peaked and it cannot grow any further, which is actually not true. And I actually do not see an end for the story. And this story actually needs to end. Like, the bloodline needs to have a conclusion. Maybe it's with Roman winning the Ula Fala. Maybe it is Dwayne Johnson versus Roman Reigns. But it needs to happen. And by the way, by the looks of it, WrestleMania 41 is not gonna have Dwayne Johnson versus Roman Reigns. And that kind of hurts me. I don't want it to be a triple threat. I don't want Cody to be involved in another bloodline match. I just do not want that to be true, because then you're essentially saying that Cody is nothing without the bloodline. He has so many interesting storylines that he could be, exploring, like with Randy Orton that he's doing right now, with Kevin Owens, with so many characters could be involved in this, but somehow this became a rant of how much I hate Dwayne Johnson. But let's coming back to the point. My prediction is the new bloodline is going to win. Bronson Reed has joined the new bloodline, which I completely forgot about the fact, by the way. I am actually loving his push, his singles push at this point. He looks like a monster. He won this Monday Night Raw as well. It's amazing. Gives Seth more motivation to join the bloodline. But it's still not enough. I will not consider Seth a viable partner for this match. And the thing is that we genuinely cannot do anything. Is it going to be a good match? Maybe. I don't, I don't even know how. Like, the thing is with bloodline matches, it always starts out slow, and then there is a lot of cool spots, cool spots, cool spots, and then one cinematic moment, and then it's over. The formula is getting stale. The formula really is getting stale, and we need to see them lose. We need to see the heroes lose. But again, it's again in front of the home crowd. Maybe it will make a bigger impact. I want Solo to look actually strong in this one, because other than that, nothing makes sense. Absolutely nothing makes sense. And it may not be a good match. In my opinion, the way they have integrated Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed and the bloodline, even though they do not have any relation, it's not even been great. Sami Zayn's face is like this entire funny Sami Uso character. That's not working with me, because I feel he's gonna turn heel somehow, but he's not gonna turn heel, and it's very confusing. But it's not good confusing. Like, do I want to watch the match? Yes, but the thing is, if they win, we know what's gonna happen. They're gonna call Paul Heyman, and all that weird shit's gonna happen. But if they lose, the new bloodline is essentially, it's over. When the good guys win, the match is essentially, the story is essentially over. To me, this entire thing ended when Cody Roman versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa happened. To be fair, like, Roman just pinning him, and then afterwards they had to pin him in Crown Jewel to restart it and everything. The story has been peaked, and I genuinely don't feel that, they needed a fifth member. If this was just the OG bloodline versus the new bloodline, I would have considered this a good part of story progression, but that's not the case. And Rushil is probably very mad at me right now. He's probably watching this episode going, don't upload this, I fucking hate you. He loves the story, by the way, but that's what I'm saying. We need two of us, because I am the voice of negativity, probably. Yeah. So let's come back to the women's war game match. And by the way, Triple H, why did you ruin the entire women's division's, all the story? Like, it is the biggest mess I have seen clearly on this war games card. Okay, let's talk about the faces first. Okay, we have Bianca, we have Jade, we have Io Sky, we have Rhea Ripley somehow, and Naomi. The tag champions have a lot of issues with Io Sky, but somehow it's okay. You know why? Because they're good guys. Naomi being part of the story because she's in feud with Nia Jax, and okay, okay, I also know that Jade and Bianca and Naomi are like good friends in SmackDown, but Io Sky has been a villain. Like, we have not seen that reconciliation. We have not seen, they're not even acknowledging at this point, because they know once they start exploring that fact, it's gonna point out a lot of inconsistencies. Keep in mind, Bianca Belair's biggest feud, one of the biggest feud, or the reason why she was so mad at SmackDown, was Damage Control, which was run by Io Sky, the champion at that point. Okay, and this week's Monday Night Raw saw the return of the dashing Rhea Ripley. If you get that reference, you are a true Cody fan. Why? Because she hates Liv Morgan. Like, the thing is that their reasoning for this women's war game match is that a bunch of people have a common enemy, so they're gonna team up and they're gonna beat each other up. But it's not even giving that. It is giving that, hey, listen, my boss told me to work with you, so I have to work with you, and now I don't have any problem, but later I might have problem with you. Regardless of whatever happens in this match, none of the motivations make sense. The reasoning is, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax just had match with the first women's crown jewel championship, and now they're in the same team battling. The entire promo was just कि मेरे boss ने मेरे को तेरे से काम करने लगा है. That's literally what it's giving. Makes no sense. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan do not look strong. I'm sorry, but it's just like, I don't even understand what's happening with that dynamic. I don't know what Raquel is supposed to be. Maybe she's the new Rhea Ripley. Is she just a strong man for that? I have no clue what her character is at this point. And then you have Tiffany Stratton and Candice LeRae. And by the way, these are the only two performers that I have actual hope and actually benefit the most out of this match. If you really think about it, the good side has 2 tag champions, 2 number 1 contenders, and 1 Rhea Ripley. Sounds great, right? But what do they benefit from winning the match? They are already champions and they're already number 1 contenders, and they already don't have great chemistry. So what's the USP of this match? I don't understand. And when you talk about the heels, you have the Miss Money in the Bank, two world champion, one speed champion, and Raquel Rodriguez. And to be fair, if they lose, that means all of the top champions of the women division mean like they are just weak as shit. Like everything about that character just goes weak, because you're essentially telling that the number one contenders and the champions of the lesser division, or maybe just, you know, the people who don't have the top spot, are genuinely better than the heels. And all the champion apparently turn out to be the heels. But if they are the champion, if they're the top of the division, they have to win, which makes it predictable. This is a lose-lose situation for actually both of them. But to be fair, the two people who benefit the most out of this match are Candice LeRae and Tiffany Stratton. The only feud or the only story that actually benefits after War Games, regardless whether they win or lose, is the trio of Nia Jax, Tiffany, and Candice LeRae. The new the Money in the Bank storyline with the approval of Nia Jax storyline between Candice and Tiffany, that has been very interesting in the women's division in SmackDown. The women's division in Raw has just been like a bunch of random stuff happening, because a lot of it was just Liv versus Rhea, and the rest of the division was just essentially suffering, and Io Sky and the Damage Control were the only ones lifting him up. And I'm so happy that Io Sky is the number one contender, by the way, because she is genuinely one of my favorite wrestlers. And the thing is that the SmackDown division that's the only area that actually benefits. And to be fair, the number one contender Naomi, she recently had a match where she lost, and like again, where does she go from this? Even if she wins, does she become the number one contender again? Does it mean that there is another tournament? Is she part of the Speed Championship now? And again, where does Liv versus Rhea go? And again, if it's just going past, oh, Liv's mad at Rhea, Rhea's mad at Liv, and that's a overplayed storyline. Why is this still a thing? Why is there no conclusion? Is this thing gonna go till WrestleMania? Is there an end to this? Are we gonna see a Saturday night main event match between the two? Are we gonna see a world championship match again? And by the way, if that's happening, do we want to see it again? Do we want to see new contenders ahead? There is no clue. I have genuinely no clue. WWE runs or thrives internationally so much is because they have storylines that make sense, and we are now entering into the Vince McMahon booking territory of good guys versus the bad guys, which may not be the worst thing in the world, but essentially if this is the direction where marquee matches are gonna make more and more appearances, where storyline is just gonna be taking a backseat like it had been taken with the tag division, another example of great matches but no storyline and no one caring, the heels are gonna benefit out of this one, and specifically only Candice LeRae and Tiffany. The rest all lose, whether they win or like this entire War Games, it just feels like put together last minute because they just wanted to have a women's War Game match. And by the way, this match is probably gonna be better than the OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline, because it's been overplayed. Every week we are seeing these two guys, these two teams or factions battle it out. Every match has been an interference spot. It has been overplayed, an overbooked mess to an extreme extent. Like at this point, the Dwayne Johnson's return is the only thing that could be a saving grace for a huge pop or anything, because at this point it feels like we've seen it all. We've seen it again and again. Adding the fifth member actually ruins it. It doesn't make it any different, it ruins it. This was supposed to be the conclusion of OG Bloodline versus the New Bloodline, but the fifth membership just makes it like, oh, there's more to the story. I know that there's more to the story, but do it in a different way, because it just sucks. I'm sorry, it's not a good story anymore. And I guess nobody on the internet is willing to agree, and everybody's calling it cinema, but when you think about it, it's not gonna be a good story until Paul Heyman comes back and introduces newer characters which are better and something that we can care about. Coming back to the Women's War Games match, I just know that it's gonna be a good match. You see the talent in the roster. It's Bianca, it's Jade, it's Io, it's Tiffany Stratton. It's gonna be probably the match of the night, for my opinion. I guess last year's War Games was also similarly. I like the Women's War Games match better. This year's Women's Royal Rumble was better. And even this year's Elimination Chamber was better. So I hope they're gonna continue the streak again, because the men's side has always just been an overbooked mess for no reason. So yeah, even though the story doesn't make sense, I think the heels are gonna win this one again. But again, coming to the WWE logic, one War Games will be won by faces, one will be won by heels. So if Bloodline's gonna win the New Bloodline's gonna win the match, It seems like the baby faces are gonna win the women's war game match, which is damaging the entire top of the division of the women's division, and that essentially sucks terribly. But maybe, just maybe, if they lose, I hope Tiffany Stratton comes closer to cashing in that Money in the Bank and becoming the new world champion. Now, what about rest of the event? The only planned match for now is Damian Priest versus Gunther, which, by the way, okay, this might be the only saving grace of the entire Survivor Series War Games card, is because Gunther finally looks weak. Gunther, of all people, looks like a weak bitch. This is props to the storyline, because Gunther was so good, even in promos, even in rings, that it was difficult to hate him. Now he's a cowardly champion. Now we have all the good reasons to hate him. Now he's an asshole, and now he's an underconfident champion. We don't want to see an underconfident champion, so we must hate him. Like, they're giving them reasons to finally hate Gunther, which, by the way, is an amazing feat. How talented this dude is. And by the way, props to Damian Priest. Damian Priest is one of those wrestlers who got over after being a champion, or after losing a champion specifically. When he was a champion, I loved him. Okay, I loved him. We agreed in the podcast as well, where he was a better champion than Cody Rhodes, in my opinion. But after he lost the championship, he just looked so much more stronger. There is so much more credibility into his name, and Damian Priest looks menacing. He acts menacing. He talks menacing. He's finally got Gunther, of all people, figured out. Okay, so my prediction for Gunther versus Damian Priest is definitely going to be Gunther. Damian Priest is not winning the championship. But the new thing is going to be that Gunther's going to cheat, guys. Because Gunther wins matches clean. Gunther puts people down. But this might not be the case. We finally gonna see Gunther act like a heel champion. Maybe all that honor, maybe all that prestige is gonna start to fade away, because he's gonna act dirty. He's gonna act a little bit, unlike Gunther. Maybe that's how you build up a heel champion like Gunther. And yeah, where does Damian Priest go after that? Essentially, I don't know. I don't know. I hope it's not Judgment Day. I really hope it's not. I know Damian Priest is not going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, because where does Gunther go after that then? So you're going to have a lot of dream matches as well. So yeah, my prediction is going to be Gunther. And he's going to cheat to win. And other than that, what else? There is, by the way, 10 days are remaining for Survivor Series, and we still don't have any other matches. No Intercontinental Championship matches, no US title matches, no tag team champion. By the way, please put the tag team onto the fucking Survivor Series card. Please do it. Put Motor City Machine Guns, or even the fucking Judgment Day. But the tag team division is the most mistreated division, in my opinion, in the WWE. Okay, the women's tag division is actually flourishing. They are putting on banger matches. The Saudi match was absolutely brilliant. But here's the thing. The actual tag division is starting to cook now. That entire segment with Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, the Motor City Machine Guns, and them being interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa, who's acting fucking like a menace. SmackDown's tag division actually makes a lot more sense now. The fact that Motor City Machine Guns in the third match became the world champions, and by the way, I'm thoroughly impressed by them, and I genuinely love them. I did not see that TNA stuff, but holy shit, are they fucking machines, And I genuinely really want Street Profits or the DIY to really win the championship. I hope they somehow even involve Pretty Deadly into it, because they have been fantastic. Here's the thing, right? When you do not build up stories perfectly for amazing weekly talent, people stop caring about it. And that's what happened to the tag division. They are putting on bangers after bangers every fucking week, but they don't have storylines that make sense. So that's why nobody cares about them, and that's essentially what's going to happen to the two War Games match, like I said before. But now they're going to have a story, so I genuinely hope that there is a tag team match. And I hope War Raiders versus Judgment Day is not just an episode of Raw. I really hope it's on Survivor Series War Games, because Ivar and Eric have been fucking killing it. Ivar is essentially just a proper specimen of athleticism. A man that size should not move the way he does, but somehow they do. I really like their aesthetic of just couple of dads ready to beat up some people because they were frustrated in their accounting job. This is a joke from Santi's app, by the way. I love it. It's genuinely the most accurate description that you could have asked for War Raiders, and I genuinely love it. They are charismatic as hell. They are athletic as hell. And somehow the men's tag division is entirely revolved around the New Day, and I genuinely hope that is good. I genuinely hope that the heel turn that happens, the Big E's return that happens, is actually good. I have a lot of hopes for that, but still, nothing that should be worthy of the Survivor Series card in my opinion. But another match that could have been a War Games match was the Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six. I almost forgot their name. I was gonna call it the Wyatt family, but yeah. Somehow that is not a Survivor Series War Games match, and it is also a shame that the Wyatt Six has not had a PLE match since they return. I feel they are more than ready. The Miz is obviously one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, one of my favorite personalities of all time. He has always been the perfect villain for me, and to be fair, when that entire segment was going on, Karrion Kross and The Miz genuinely were performing well. This week's video package proved Karrion Kross has it. Okay, Karrion Kross actually was the reason he was given that opportunity week by week, and we were not able to understand what was happening. It was crazy, but I love the fact Karrion Kross is getting into his own skin and he's doing something different with his character. The Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six it's truly something that excites me. And Bo Dallas, my fucking god, this dude has been killing it in my opinion. That entire promo of him confronting through the mic and not through the screen, sorry, him almost looking like Bray Wyatt in that video, and the conviction he had while delivering those lines, that I can't remember it right now. I genuinely want Wyatt 6 versus the Final Testaments in a War Games, but it's not gonna happen. We're not gonna have 3 War Games matches, but it really should be a traditional Survivor Series match, like the elimination type something. And who's gonna be there? It's gonna be Karrion Kross, AOP, The Miz, and one more guy? No, let's keep that 4v4. Then you have Eric Rowan, Bo Dallas, Joe Gacy, and the guy who was always mute, and the only thing he's ever said was "I do" in NXT when he got married in a storyline. Dexter Loomis. Yeah, that's his name. I remember the one time he said his words before his name. That's me. So yeah. To be fair, this episode has been quite of me just talking in front of the camera, so I guess this should be enough for this week. I hope. Okay, so these are my. Okay, so 3 matches have been confirmed. The other 2 matches that I predict is going to be Wyatt 6 versus the Final Testament. And the next match I hope is Judgment Day versus War Raiders. That's it for this week, guys. If you really like this video, please tell me in the comments. This was a boring one for me because I was essentially talking to myself. Then the entire point of this podcast was that I have someone to talk about wrestling. So let's hope he comes back soon. And yeah, see you. Bye bye.